Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. This is a very nice CLI application written in Pascal that I want to share with you, write with you. We're going to code along if possible. Of course, that's going to be great. And you don't need to be an expert in Pascal or anything. It's enough for you to know any programming language, at least the fundamentals of any programming language. Python, JavaScript, Rust, Go, C, whatever. And I'm not going to explain much. I will explain, of course, some things that are foreign to other programming languages. What I meant is that I'm not going to explain in details what a function is, what a variable is, what a data type is. No, all these are basics, so we shouldn't be talking too much about them. Prepare your keyboard, your cup of coffee. Let's go ahead and start writing this health checker application. It's an application that basically checks for your weight. So are you obese, you're overweight, you're underweight, and so on and so forth by calculating the body mass index, the BMI. And I wanted to design this to be or to look and feel retro with the beautiful booting animations and all of that. Plus that I love retro. You can call me the retro guy. I won't be offended. And before we get into the coding part, I want to take a quick moment to thank the amazing members who support this channel. Vasil Nakvasiuk, Olyanka Ayola, Tim Napier, Matsej Pachkovsky, Marcos Mello, Mustafa Qasim, and Rudy Da Costa. Thank you all so much for your continued support, guys. And whether you have just joined or been around for months, your encouragement really keeps projects like this going. And also one important thing, I'm not going to show you how to install, I showed that in the other video, how to install free Pascal compiler. So I'm not going to do that actually here. We're going to start creating our application. I'm using WSL2, Windows Subsystem for Linux 2. And that's everything that I wanted to say, guys. So .3 here, this is the Ubuntu distro, the fish shell. And let's have this one. Let's open the whole thing with Visual Studio Code. So I don't need that anymore. Hold on. All right. And let me also have app.pass. This is our Pascal file. All right, before writing any code, I want you to go to extensions and make sure that you have Pascal extension installed here. There are two basically, one which is the language support and the other one is the formatter. We can install the formatter as well. So this one right here and this one right here. Both go ahead and install them. Just I want you to make sure that you have the FPC version, that's version 3.2.2. So if you have this one, that means that all good. And let's go ahead and start writing our program. Our program, I'm gonna call it retro health checker. That's the name of the program. In Pascal, you need to start by the keyword program and the name of your program. That's the system here. All right. To import any outside or any library built-in or outside dependency, you use the keyword uses. And here I'm going to use a library called CRT. CRT actually is a built-in dependency. It stands for, yes, you guessed it, the cathode ray tube, the big monitor, the big 70s, 80s, even 90s and 2000. Even we still have cathode ray tube used. Of course, I don't think that there are any manufacturers who continue to produce or to manufacture CRT monitors, but CRT actually is the name of the dependency, and it allows color, screen control, timing, and timing also via a function called delay. It's like set timeout in JavaScript, but it's much easier here. You write delay and you enter the number of milliseconds, or the number of seconds basically that you want to enter. So this actually is going to mimic the old terminal behavior. And it's perfect for our application because it's going to have this beautiful retro look. I want to create the main function here. So the main function is to calculate the body mass index. And the body mass index is basically the weight over the height squared. So to define a function in Pascal, you will type the keyword function, followed by the name of the function. We're going to call that calculate BMI, and it's going to take two different inputs, the weight and, minimize a bit, the height. And both of them are going to have real data type. Real is a numerical data type representing decimal numbers. It's basically float in Python, floating points for decimal numbers. That's all what it is. So you want input as real, but also you want output as real. So that's the function here. You have weight and height of data type real, and also that function should return a real. Then, as we have seen in the last video, that we need to start by begin and end. But I told you in that tutorial that begin and end should end up with dot and not semicolon. That's right. That is the main entry point. However, begin and end here with a semicolon because it's in a function. And also the same thing, begin and end with a semicolon in a procedure. And I'm going to explain to you the difference between functions and procedures. Both look the same, but they don't do the same thing. So as I said, the BMI formula here is the weight over the height multiplied by height, the height squared basically. The calculate BMI function, and this is to assign, by the way, all right? That is exactly like equal only in JavaScript or equal only in Python, all right? And any other programming language, basically. We do here colon equal. So weight is divided by height multiplied by height. Now I want to create a procedure, and I'm going to tell you what is the difference between a function and a procedure. A function should return a value. A procedure will have a side effect, like writing to the console, modifying a variable, even like writing to a file or fetching data from an external API. You know, anything that it doesn't return a value can be included in a procedure. Now I see one of you will tell me, okay, so what if I will have a function inside the procedure? What if I will take this, because that essentially will return a value, right? And it's inside the procedure. Well, let me tell you, my friend, that this is not the best practice. By convention, we know that anything that returns a value should be included in a function code block between the begin and the end of a function. However, for a procedure, we don't expect to return any values. Instead, we expect to write data, write to the console, or read line from the console as input, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean that the procedure doesn't take inputs. Now, I told you that it looks like a function. It works like a function. The only difference that it doesn't return a value. It creates or it produces side effect. What is a side effect? A side effect can be things like writing to the console, as I said, modifying some value, modifying a variable, reading from a file, writing to a file, fetching data, and so on. The procedure also should have a name. So our procedure here is going to take the name of show result. And we want to show the result of the BMI, which has data type of real. Okay, makes sense. Also, it starts by begin and it ends by end. So I want to have a blank line first. Then I want to say here, your BMI is, that is concatenated with BMI 0 to, this is just to show the result with two decimals, nothing more. Then I will have conditionals. I told you that I will not explain, the syntax. The syntax is very, very simple. You can understand it even if you know the very basics of programming. So if BMI is less than 18.5, then hit enter. You can indent if you want, just to make it visually beautiful, but indentation is not required. All right, so we're going to write line here, and let's say your status is underweight. Well, let's make it just simple. Let's do like that. Status underweight. Yeah, that's much better. Else, if BMI is less than 25, then I'm going also to, let's just make like this. I'm going to say that status is normal. Let's make first letter capitalized. All right. Now, if the BMI is less than 30, in this case, the status is overweight. And for any other number, for any other result, that's going to be essentially higher than 30. In that case, we're going to say status obese. All right, this is the conditionals and how to write conditionals in Pascal. If, else, if, else. And of course, don't forget the end here. Let's just make it like that. All right, so this is the procedure that we need to show the result. Now, I want to write a procedure for booting animation. This procedure here was to show results, and this one for booting animation. Begin, end. We haven't written our main entry point yet, guys. That's going to be under here, actually. Let's just make like this. Main entry point, and that's going to be our begin and end with a dot, not with a semicolon. And also we would want to declare some variables, and in Pascal you can declare variables using the keyword var and the keyword const, and var of course is mutable and const is immutable. So if in your program you're going to change the value of a certain variable, it is absolutely prohibited to declare it with const. You need to declare it with the keyword var. And I want name, and that's going to be of data type string. Also, I want weight, I want height, I want the BMI, and all of them are actually real data types, floating numbers, decimal numbers. And finally, I want the choice, and the choice would be yes or no, Y or N. And that is of a data type char, right? A character. All right, these are my variables declaration here. But let's get back to our procedure for booting animation, and that's very simple actually. The first thing is we're going to do it in a clean way. So I want to clear the screen first. Then I want to have a black background. So I'm going to, believe it or not, this reminds me of in BASIC, in Atari, when I was a kid, there was some function called set color or set background color. I really don't remember, but if you happen to remember, just write me in the comments below. But basically you write the RGB, you write the red, green, blue colors, and yeah, you hit enter and everything changes. So yes, text background, that is the function to change the background color. Also, you can change the text color, not only the background. And here I wanted to have this bright green text, this phosphor glow color of retro terminals. And finally, I will clear the screen again. So we're going to write some things here. Write ln, and we'll do like this. Can do like that. Oops, hold on. Right. And inside here we can have something like let's do BIOS health terminal version 1.1. all right, let's just make it, yep, that's better. Now I want to have a delay, a small pause for this booting animation, this dramatic effect. And I told you that because we have imported the CRT dependency here, and if we'll check together, let's check here in Free Pascal, let's check the wiki, and let's write here CRT. All right. It is a unit providing subroutines for programming in text mode. It is similar to ncurse's C library. It's curses like cursive in Rust, or it's also curses in Python, I believe, right? Curses in Python. Yeah, curses programming with Python. It's the same. Its intention is to be compatible with the Borland Pascal and Turbo Pascal 7 CRT unit. That's what it is. If we're not going to use CRT, we will not be able to use the delay. As delay is very important because that's going to give that effect of set timeout in JavaScript. And if you will take a look here to delay is actually a procedure, and you will have inside the number of the seconds that you want. All right, so you can take a look here. Wait 1 second, for example, that's 1000. That's 1 second. All right, exactly the same thing here. And we can write something, write line, and let's say here, initializing system memory. We can have a delay again. Let's have 600. Let's make this 500. So 7, 6. Let's make this 5 as well. Calibrating sensors. All this, of course, is a simulation to make it look nice, nothing more. And let's not forget that we need to. We're going to have error. Okay, it's not tolerant. We're going to have errors if we'll not write the semicolon here. Doesn't Pascal make you feel you want to program really? It's a very beautiful language. And finally, I want to say that connection is established. So, oops, hold on, what did I do? Yeah. With the connection established, that's going to be 600. All right. Let's make here 400. Let's have a blank line, right line. And also, let's write something like boot complete. Let's do like this. And also take a look at that. Let's say press any key to continue. So take a look here, read key, that read key from key buffer. This is a function that reads one key from the keyboard buffer and returns this. If an extended or function key has been pressed, then the 0 ASCII code is returned. You can then read the scan code of the key with a second read key call. In our case, guys, I'm going just to write read key. And when you will hit enter, that should continue the process or the next procedure. So let me just put all of that indented like this. This is, as I said, visually, guys. This has nothing to do with the syntax itself. It's not like Python, I mean, or Haskell. Then you need to care about the indentation. All right. Okay, so we are done with our procedure. The last thing that's remaining is to write our main entry point here. So I want to start this booting procedure. By the way, I haven't actually defined the procedure. So let's give it a name of boot sequence. And we're going to just start with that here, boot sequence. Then I want something like a while loop. And to have a while loop in Pascal is by using the keyword repeat. Repeat until, all right? Repeat until what? Until the condition that we want, that when it's met, we're going to break outside of the loop. In that case, we want to ask if the user actually want to continue or to check again. So we can write here, and by the way, the difference between write and write ln is that write ln writes the line itself on a new line, while write, it can write it on the same line. So if you have write, then that's going to write both words on the same line. However, write line is going to shift it downwards, right? That's just the difference. So we're going to say here something like check again, yes or no. And you might enter yes in a, capitalized or not capitalized, doesn't matter. And you want actually that input. And we have seen read line function to read your input. And we're going to store it in a variable called choice. And that is going to be the main factor here, the main argument, that if choice is equal to n or choice is equal to capital N. In that case, break outside of the loop and have a goodbye message, for example. All right, but let's just get up here and start our loop. So the first thing in our loop that I want is that I want to clear the screen. Then I want the text background to be 0. Then I want the text color to be 10, that green color. And also I want to make clear screen. The same thing we have done with the boot sequence procedure. And then I will have to have a header. Now a header will be written this way. So we can have like this and just do like that. And we can write something like retro health checker version 1.1. Oops. All right. Then I want to ask the user some information for info. And we can ask the user for their name, for example. So you would say here, right, enter your name. Then we want to read the name and store it in a variable called name. Next, you want to ask the user to enter their height, or let's start by weight first. Weight, and that's going to be in kilograms. And we're going to store that in a variable called weight, naturally. And the same thing with the height. And the height is going to be measured in meters. and we're going to call that height. Now we want the calculation itself, calculate and show results, and we would do BMI is equal to the calculate BMI function, taking as main parameters the weight and the height, your input. Then I want a blank line, right line here. Then we're going to greet the user. All right. Then we will invoke the show result procedure we have created above, and we will pass inside the BMI as the main input. And that's basically our application, guys. That's it. That's everything. Maybe we can have this goodbye message though. So in the goodbye message, you want to have a blank line. Then going to say stay healthy, concatenate it with the name. Then we can say something like system shutting down, just for more dramatic effect. Shutting down, or system shutting down. Then also we want to have a delay for let's make it 900. That's almost a second. And we would do we would do here goodbye. Oops. Press any key to exit. And also we're going to read the key for that's key press events, basically. Whenever you will hit the key, that's going to exit and terminate everything. All right, that's basically our program. Hopefully we haven't had any typos. It's a very, very, very simple program, but it shows you the flow. All right, let me actually delete that session. Let's open a new one. Let's make it like that. There we go. Let's do FPC, that's app.pass. All right. We haven't had any typos or any errors. The 100 lines were compiled and we have linked the app, and we have here our executable file that we need to run. Right, so when we do app, how cool is that? Take a look. You know what? Maybe even it's better because the theme here in VS Code is affecting everything. You know what? I'm going to go to let me go here. Let me open this and let's go to Pascal to .3, right? Okay, let's do app. Take a look at that. Oh, it's beautiful, right? Hit enter, enter your name. We're saying here John. Enter your weight, that is 100 kilograms. Your height, 1.8. Enter. Hello, John. Your BMI is 30.86. Status obese. Check again. If you would do yes, you're going to, check for another patient or another user. And we can say here, Mark, 150. He eats a lot of McDonald's, and the height is 2 meters. Hello, Mark. He's also obese, 37.50. Let's check one more time for another patient, Linda. Her weight is 52, and her height is 1.54, for example. Hello Linda, your BMI is 21.93, status normal, which is awesome. Check again, no. If we do N like that or N like that, doesn't matter. If you'll hit enter, stay healthy Linda, system shutting down, goodbye, press any key to exit, hit enter, and we are done. That is our application. I hope this video is useful to you. If you find it useful, please leave a like. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, stay safe and be well. I will see you in the next one.